bad apples. And no, our guys weren't just looking the other way. And those two poor high school seniors in the wrong place at the wrong time, their deaths were caused by people you and I as taxpayers pay money to, government officials. The corruption in Saline County that allowed the train desk cover-up to proceed with abandon only exists because of the far larger federal cover-up of people and by people with access to the vast powers of our nation's military and civilian intelligence capabilities. So we're deadly serious about Bill Bottoms and his deliberate agency-abetted campaign. Today we think of this man as a slightly desperate, behind-his-quota, door-to-door salesman, looking for a few bonus points at the end of the month. See, Bill Bottoms worked as a pilot in Desert Storm, dropping pre-invasion Special Forces guys in Iraq before the war. Landing and taking off from roads barely visible from the air, it was hazardous duty. But Bill Bottoms got in trouble in Saudi Arabia, personal trouble, and had to be spirited out of the country to avoid being beheaded by those colorful Saudis. So he was discharged for good cause, fired, 2 years short of the 20 he needs for his government pension. And now he needs those end-of-the-month bonus points. The public history and the secret history of the 1980s are two wholly different movie-going experiences. Today it's easier to see that what the Barry Seal story is really all about is the privatization of American covert intelligence. Subcontracting makes a lot of sense, plausible deniability-wise, when you're in the drug and weapons trade.
Even Gorbanifar knew that you were supporting the Contras.
Yes, he did. Izvestia knew it. The name had been in the papers in Moscow. It had been all over Danny Ortega's newscast. Radio Havana was broadcasting it. It was in every newspaper in the land.
All our enemies knew it, and you wanted to conceal it from the United States Congress.
This is John McWethy in Washington. The Reagan administration denied any connection to the downed aircraft.
The people involved were not from our military, not from any U.S. government agency, and CIA included.
Reaction from Congress was mixed. Senator Patrick Leahy, a Democrat, is on the Senate Intelligence Committee and expressed concern that the CIA, while not directly responsible, could have been involved in other ways with the private group.
What concerns me very much is that they are connected with any of the adjunct soldier of fortune type operations. Those which are sort of sent out there with a wink and a shrug.
Peter Jennings typically put it well.
Whatever the truth in this particular incident, there is to be sure a large gray area when it comes to fighting this kind of war in Central America. And that is the way some of the participants like it.
Barry Seal was in business with this company, Major General Richard Secord's company.
Southern Air Transport is a Miami company reportedly owned by the CIA until the 1970s. This weekend, a plane chartered by Southern Air crashed in Texas on a flight to Central America, raising suspicions.
No spook has ever left your fingerprint or a footprint. But in the case of the operations and ownership of this particular company, there's no question about it.
Barry Seal was working on the same operation Eugene Hassenfuss was. Remember him? Remember how he didn't work for the CIA either?
A plane crash in the jungle is raising new questions tonight about U.S. involvement in the war in Nicaragua. The Sandinista government says its troops shot down a plane carrying weapons for the Contra rebels and captured a man they describe as a U.S. military advisor. A Nicaraguan official said 3 other U.S. citizen crewmen were killed. He described the flight as a CIA operation. In Washington, aides to President Reagan denied even knowing about such an operation and said it had no connection with the captured man, who's identified as one Eugene Hassenfuss. Our report begins in Nicaragua with CBS News reporter Michael Connor.
The plane was brought down in southern Nicaragua.
My name is Gene Hassenfuss. Where are you from? From Marinette, Wisconsin.
Well, guess what? Congress passed a $750 million Hassenfuss relief bill last year, so I guess somebody's paying his pension.
Most here believe there was no official involvement, but sources told CBS News tonight it is fair to assume the administration knew what was going on and who was involved.
For what really happened in the Barry Seal story, we found no spokesman more persuasive than this man.
The government testified in the trial that he was responsible. You know how big a freight car is? I unloaded a freight car as a kid. I know how big they are, okay? That he introduced into the southeastern United States in a period of 3 years 8 freight cars, 8 full freight cars of cocaine.
This man is the witness we found who hadn't been gotten to before we interviewed him.
One of the things that Bush's task force was amazed at when he testified before the president's task force up there, which Bush was chairman, they couldn't understand how he evaded the radar screen in the Gulf of Mexico with his planes. And he laughed at him. He never did really explain, but he laughed at him and said that wasn't a problem at all.
He's also the witness to secrets about Barry Seal, who is seemingly immune to intimidation or threats. Why were you trying to subpoena the CIA?
Because we felt like they had documents, exhibits, and evidence that would indicate complicity in this assassination.
His name is Sam Dalton, and he was the attorney who represented the Colombian hitmen who assassinated Barry Seal in the penalty phase of their trial.
He had his own air-sea rescue operation. He didn't have to call on anybody. Like I say, no problem. Everything, he was prepared for everything.
He was running a small airline.
Yeah.
Difficult to do without somebody saying.
And landing this big cargo plane right in Baton Rouge loaded with cocaine.
That was the C-120. That was common knowledge, too, was it not?
Oh, I think so, sure. Certainly all the personnel at the airport knew what was going on.
Through discovery, he gained access to something more valuable than gold, the contents of the trunk of Barry Seal's Cadillac on the night he was assassinated.
If it hadn't been for a good state judge with enough courage to back the federal government up, we'd have never gotten inside that trunk. He made them give us that trunk back. And obviously, they had ransacked that trunk and some of the things we didn't get back, but they had missed a few things that indicated just how valuable that trunk was.
Something the FBI wanted you to never know about.
They went into the Baton Rouge police office and literally, physically seized that trunk from the Baton Rouge police and walked out with it. The Baton Rouge police probably would have had to draw their guns to keep possession of that trunk. And actually, the Baton Rouge police should have done that, but they didn't.
Because of his fearlessness and his access to the court system that no one else has been able to gain, he was able to penetrate just a little the veil surrounding Barry Seal.
They wouldn't even honor the subpoena until the state judge, really backed them up and threatened to hold them in contempt.
So it took a state judge threatening to hold the FBI in contempt for them to give you what you should have had as part of discovery.
Right.
And when you saw the contents of what was in that trunk, they were obviously in a ransack condition?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's where that phone number was. Well, the only thing I can conclude is because they were talking to each other very seriously over probably what was a secured phone number, a secured phone. And Barry Seals was in direct contact with Bush.
What you're about to hear now may shock you. It did me.
Barry Seals was delivering arms and money to the Contras. And one of the things that really turned us on about that premise was Barry Seals' ability to buy a surplus minesweeper from the government.
Now, wait a minute. Barry Seal, a drug smuggler, bought a minesweeper from the government?
It was formerly named the Stock, and the name was changed to the Conda. And he was delivering money to a naval architect to refurbish it for use.
How did you find out about the minesweeper?
Well, my investigation led me to a transcript of the IRS